Hey, what's up guys? Little man with a big opinion here. I thought I'd throw up a short video that this information is something that I think every single person in the US is capable of doing. They are very simple, but I think if you go through with these, it can make a crappy situation not so crappy. I think my favorite coin saying right now is keep things as close to normal as possible. If you are meeting these bare minimum requirements, then I'm not saying you're a prepper, but once you hit these things, then I think you can kind of step your game up a little bit. All of them involve the car, because when I drive is when I get most of my thinking in. And I was watching a couple of videos, kind of came up with this idea. The very first, the simple, easiest thing that you can do, it doesn't matter what you drive. I am, like my car's got the little red gauge, and I am, by the time I get to my plasma donation and get back towards the other side of town where I know the cheapest gas is, I'll be right below half a tank. And in none of my vehicles, I like to be below half a tank. This car right now, I've got about 220 miles on it. And, I am a needle's width above the half a tank mark. And it's typically every Thursday for the amount of driving that we do, I put fuel in the vehicle. If I'm going to stop and get the gas, I might as well top the tank off. I don't always do that, but I always keep it above the half a tank mark. Every vehicle out there, unless you're driving like a Deuce and a half or something really old that doesn't get great gas mileage, you can cover a massive distance if you have more than half a tank. And when that problem arises that you need to get the hell out of Dodge, other people are probably also trying to get out of Dodge, and you don't want to be hindered by the distance that your vehicle can go. I see it every single year with hurricanes and winter storms and all of this stuff, where yes, there is our systems give us a lot of advancement on this hurricane is going to hit in roughly this area. The closer it gets, the more they narrow it down. They have this stuff predicted very well, and they're saying this is a voluntary evacuation, and when they get serious enough, they'll put it all the way towards mandatory evacuation, and they're pretty accurate. And I've seen cars for miles lined up, leaving an area, and every gas station you see, I'm getting a phone call, don't know the number. Every gas station you see, they've got their 10 to 20 pumps, and there's 40 cars waiting to try to get fuel. If you want to keep yourself as close to normal as possible, going 200 miles away from a hurricane, you're probably going to be out of its way, unless it hits the coast and then follows up the coast for a while and you just went further up the coast. You typically want to go inland on that. But really good suggestion. Doesn't matter what you drive. And depending on like bug out location wise, you might want to have even more fuel on hand. Like I've heard some people talk about they're going to go 6 hours up into the mountains, and the good ones have the fuel on hand to make the trip the entire way, even taking into account the longest distance it takes to get there, if there's any sort of traffic buildup where they're stop and go. So really good option. The next thing, jumper cables. At a bare minimum, I say jumper cables. At Sam's, they've got one of those car jumping packs that you charge it up and it can jump your car 2 or 3 times, and it's got a little air compressor. They're like $90. My grandma got one, and I like hers better than the one we have, because ours just jumps your car and has a USB spot. This thing has 5 USB ports. It's got lights on it. You can jump your car, and it's a pretty well thought out little machine. And you know, she got one for every vehicle for people in our family for Christmas, kind of thing. But bare minimum jumper cables, because it is a very awkward situation to be in if your car is dead. And I guess it's where I live, you know, people are super helpful, and you go to jump someone's car, or you know, they need a jump, and it's like, I don't have cables. I have had to pull my jumper cables out 2 or 3 times because someone had a dead car. They don't have jumper cables, and it's like, don't worry, I've got a pair. It'll be all right. And they're probably going, oh, thank God. So jumper cables, super important to keep in your car. Keeping a couple of days worth of water in your car. It's not a lot, you know, to keep that in your vehicle, but that goes along with the getting out of Dodge. You know, having those bare minimum supplies means you don't have to stop and, you know, hope to find them along the way. And it works the same way with food. Although on the food side of things, you want to be careful there, because you want to keep stuff in your car that the elements aren't going to mess with. So I lean more on the snack side, where we've got, you know, granola bars and, you know, crackers and stuff like that. You know, we've kept MREs in the car before. We've kept freeze-dried food in the car before, but when you do freeze-dried food, you've got to keep more water, and then you have to have some sort of heat source, and it requires more and more stuff. So that's where you're kind of pushing the balance. You know, I'd keep some non-perishables. You know, our son really likes fruit, so keeping a couple of cans of fruit in the car has been great, because we've had emergency. It's an emergency for him. Don't get me wrong. He's telling you, I'm hungry right now, and you know, being able to open a can of mixed fruit and pouring it into a little bowl for him, that's gotten us through some pretty rough moments. They tell you when they're hungry, and they let you know very adamantly when they're hungry. Everyone should be eating some sort of, you know, nutritious something. So throw a couple cans of mixed fruit in your car. It's going to be a couple of dollars. It's going to take up a little bit of space. And I've been stuck on the side of the road before. I've had my car overheat, and you know, having to sit and wait for it to cool off so I can try to get to a place that I can put more coolant in it. And I'm sitting there waiting, and if I had to wait for much longer, it probably wouldn't have been a great experience. Trying to keep things as close to normal as possible, a little bit of food will go a long way. If you, like, I'm not saying it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because it's not the greatest tasting, but you know, I've had my brother keep one of those like survival bars that's 2,000 something calories in his vehicle before, and he looked at it just from a calorie point. This is one entire day's worth of food in this small brick. You know, it's a very thick brick, and you definitely want something to wash it down with. But it was a nice peace of mind for him. Other things to keep in your car: a rain jacket / umbrella. I lean towards the rain jacket side of things because I don't like holding an umbrella. I like to be able to keep doing what I'm doing but stay dry. Weather people are the only ones that can, you know, tell you something and be wrong, and you're not going to be you know, asking for their job. It's a fairly clear sky day. The weather forecast says there's like a 10% chance of precipitation. That 10%, a lot of people don't know this, it doesn't mean there's a 10% chance that it's going to rain. It just means 10% of the area will experience rain. That's a very easy way of saying you could drive into the area that's going to experience 10% of rain. Or 10% of the area is supposed to receive 100% chance of rain. You never know when that's going to happen. We also like to keep, a jacket, a blanket, that sort of thing, because you never know. Like if I had to be stuck in the car overnight, I want to be comfortable. Just the polo and the pants I'm wearing, yeah, the temperature right now would probably be okay. When it's colder, the blanket is going to help out. Other times I keep a sheet just so I have something that's, covering me up, but I'm not just going to sweat the whole night. I've slept in my car several times. Partially for long trips, and I'd rather just, sleep in the car and not have to get a hotel. But there might not be a hotel. The hotel might be overcrowded because of whatever's going on. I know I have a roof over my head. I've got, protection from the elements. There's an okay level of insulation within a vehicle, but you might need a little bit more. So that's something to keep in mind. Having some way of communication and some form of security and first aid. Those are going to be the last three things. The security is for obvious reasons. I made a video talking about, are guns necessary for prepping? And there's been quite a lengthy discussion in the comment section on that one. My philosophy is you should always give yourself the best advantage towards, getting home, making it out of that situation. I have said it several times that I am not the largest person, and I want to give myself every chance of success possible. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, exercise my Second Amendment right, and because I want to go home at the end of the day. It's as simple as that. On the same note, it happened maybe 6 months ago that I picked a motorcycle up off of a guy that got in an accident. And I was able to render first aid to him. If I didn't have the first aid kit, like this guy wasn't gonna, die from his injuries or anything like that. But I was able to help this person out. And in that same situation, I would like to be able to help myself out if that's something that I'm capable of doing. And if I'm not capable of doing that, I don't want to rely on hoping someone else has the first aid stuff to be able to take care of me. Granted, if I can't talk, that's a completely different situation. But at the very least, I would love to be able to say, hey, there's a first aid kit in the trunk. It's in this giant red bag with a red cross on it. Go get it. The best worst case scenario is I could talk someone through putting a bandage on me. Or they can bring it to me and I can get the stuff out and use it. Every first aid class I've taken, they always talk about, someone's in charge of the situation and, you call 911, you grab the AED. I don't have an AED, those things are expensive. But, be able to say, hey, go grab this, go grab this. That's one of the benefits of taking courses like that and having the equipment to be able to deal with a situation like that. And like I said, the communication is also important. Almost all of us carry cell phones. That's the easiest form of communication. Something bad happens, like it can be, I live out in the middle of nowhere. I have called the non-emergency line more times to say, hey, someone's cow got out. This livestock's not in their fence. Than I have to say, hey, there's a drunk driver, or hey, this accident just happened, or hey, this person is driving recklessly. That phone call could be the difference of preventing a situation. Not saying everyone's got to have a CB radio or anything in their vehicle, but having those things lets you be able to get a message along a lot further than, you know, how far you can shout to someone else. But that's what I got. Let me know in the comment section down below, you know, things that you keep in your vehicle, things that you prepare for. If you have all of those things, you can keep stuff as close to normal as you can. Subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends and family members. I'll catch you in the next one.